Hey everybody, it's Shannon coming to you from the Heathstead, and I just wanted to take everybody around our garden that we've got going for 2018. And this year we're trying a new method. It's called the Back to Eden method. It's not new, but it's something new that we have never done before. Last year I got with a couple of local tree trimming companies, and we were able to get 2 dump truck loads of wood mulch delivered out to the Heathstead. It was in piles until this spring, and then we broke our backs a couple of Saturdays and Sundays and got it all moved out here onto the garden. And on this side of the garden, we've got rows put in. We've planted some dill that we'll use for making our pickles later this year. A couple rows of bush beans. We've got a row of okra, and these were planted on Sunday, and we do have some that have already started to sprout, so just within a few days they're already coming up. And then we've got 3 rows of sweet corn that were planted in on Sunday as well. I don't see any of that coming up just yet, but we've got the first succession here, and then on the other end of the garden we've got all that open space that's been mulched in that we're planning on putting in 4 to 5 more rows of sweet corn at a later time, just so that it's not all ready to harvest at the exact same time. As you can see over here, we had a section of garlic that came up volunteer. It's all these tall sprigs, and we didn't want to try to mulch in around it, but you can definitely see the difference between wood mulching and not wood mulching. There's hardly any weeds in here except for where our rows are. And once the plants get big enough, we'll take that wood mulch and fill it in around the base of the plants so that there'll be no place for weeds to come through. Hopefully next year, once we get all this garlic harvested, we plan on mulching over this section as well. The first section here is our perennial crop. This is our asparagus patch, and I did just get done cutting it, so there's not much showing, but there's some small sprigs that I left. I like them to be about 6 to 8 inches tall before I cut them, so these will probably be ready tomorrow. And this is another section of the garden that we do not have the wood mulch in on yet, but hopefully we can put that in the fall. I just got to get with a company and hopefully get a couple more loads of some wood mulch delivered. All right, if you follow me over to the other side of the garden. On this side here, we went ahead and put a weed guard underneath all of the tomato and pepper plants, and also under the cucumber plants and the zucchini plants. And we went ahead and put T-posts in, so it'll be a lot sturdier for our cages. These cages are made out of remesh, which is the material they use for doing concrete work. You can get it for about $75 for a 150 foot roll from Menards. And we made these circular forms, and we attach them to these T-posts, and the tomatoes grow up through them. It makes them a lot easier for us to pick them come late spring and early summer when the tomatoes are actually ready to pick. This year I wanted to keep track of the variety of tomatoes that we were planting, so I just took some clothespins and I kept each of the tags for the different varieties that we bought, and I've clipped them to the top of the cages so that if we have a variety that does really well, we'll know next year that, oh yeah, this one here was a better boy. Definitely want to get more better boys that had a great crop this year. And then same goes for ones that don't do very well. We don't want to waste our time with a plant that doesn't produce well for us. Over here we've got 16-foot cattle panels that we have arched, and at the base of them we have cucumbers planted. And as these grow, they're very viney, and so we'll at first we'll train them, but eventually they'll take over all on their own. And they should sprout out of these holes. We'll fill the wood mulch back in around the root system so that we don't have issues with weeds. And then they'll slowly creep up and over and hopefully cover the arch. And then as the fruits grow, they'll just hang down in between these square holes, and then we can just come underneath the arch and be able to pick our cucumbers. And it'll also keep them from rotting away in the wood mulch, hopefully. And it'll make a nice, long, straight fruit, hopefully. So we'll do more updates as it continues to grow to let you guys know how this particular project works out. This is something new that we've never done before. Along here I've got an entire row of zucchini squash. I've had a lot of problems in the past with squash bugs, so I did plant more than I anticipate needing, which might be a good thing for people at work. You can get some free zucchini once it starts going crazy. But the last 2 years the squash bugs have completely taken out my crop of zucchini, so I'm very hopeful that I actually get some this year. So I've planted 8 plants along this entire section here, and it can be pretty prolific off of a single plant, so hopefully it does very well. On this particular arch, I've got pickling cucumbers growing, so we can make our own homemade pickles, and our own homemade relish, our own homemade bread and butter pickles. So I've actually done 2 entire arches of the pickling cucumbers, so if they all do well, that'll be 8 plants in total. And then the last arch down here, we've done just a regular slicing cucumber that you would use for salads and just snacking. Back on this side of the garden, I've got more cages. We've done our peppers in cages. I got to make one more cage for this one here, but we've got a couple of the snacking peppers, a couple of the regular green peppers, jalapeno peppers for making our own salsa. Planted a couple of different varieties of eggplant. We love to do fried eggplant in an egg wash and rolled in crushed up saltine crackers, so that's one of our kids' favorites. And then the whole rest of the garden where the cages are on this side are all different varieties of tomato plants. We've got some different Romas, we've got slicers, we've got beefsteaks, cherry, and grape tomatoes. So all in all, between peppers, eggplant, and tomatoes, we've got 24 plants. So we're really hoping to get a lot of good crop this year so we can actually do some canning and put some stuff up for the winter. This section over here we've got left bare. We're hoping to get some strawberry rhizomes and get a crop of strawberries in. They are perennial, so once they're planted, they'll just be here all on their own. And hopefully they'll shoot out runners each year and just take over this entire area, and we'll have a nice patch of strawberries. Just so you guys can kind of understand how easy it is with this Eden method, we do have a couple of places back here where the grass has kind of started to come through the mulch. Not near as prolific as the other side of the garden, but you can just come along and just barely pull on it and it pulls right out. It's pretty amazing how weak it makes the root system. And so when you have anything that grows through, you can just come through a couple times a week. If you see any green above the mulch, you just come over, kind of get down close to the root system and easily pull them out. So much better than the other side of the garden. I'll take you over there just a second to show you what it looks like where we have not mulched. Alright, so over on this side of the garden, the entire garden was about 50 feet wide, 100 feet long. We decided to downsize this year with us working full time. It's just too much work with the weeding and keeping the grass out and tending the crops and picking the crops. So we've downsized to half the size, and we did have enough wood mulch to cover the area that we sorted out. The other half of the garden here, we're not sure what we want to do with yet, but you can definitely see the difference. We've got huge weeds that are coming in, we've got a lot of grass that's filling in, and not only that, it's just bone dry. It holds no moisture whatsoever. It gets really dry. If we were planting on just the plain dirt like this, we'd be watering several times a week. But in the mulched area, once you get into the mulch and you dig down a little bit, you can see how wet and moist it stays. And so this is really, I think, going to help cut down on the amount of watering that we're going to have to do this summer. Help our plants grow bigger and stronger, and hopefully we'll see more yield. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this tour of our 2018 garden here on the Heatstead. Stay tuned and we'll keep you updated as it continues to grow and expand. Have a good night, guys.